suppression, the use of marijuana.
Let's roll, bitches. What's up, everyone?
Hey.
We are the ADHD Queens. Today we're going to be talking about The Things She's Seen by Ambelin and Ezekiel Kwaymullina, which is a YA mystery kind of thrillery book. I'm Ryan,
I'm Jamie.
I'm Tia.
and we're going to get started.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Did you say that we're the ADHD queens?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I didn't pay attention. Sorry.
Right up at the top.
Just right.
Okay, I'll cut that.
You'll cut when he said we're the ADHD.
No, I'll
queens.
cut the little,
Or don't.
the whisper.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Okay.
Okay, so The Thing She's Seen is a book about a young girl who dies in a car accident, and then she comes back as a ghost, but only her dad can see her. And
I wanted to say, and her dad is drowning in grief. Sorry.
And so her dad is a police officer in Australia, and he is investigating an arson case, I guess technically,
Mm-hmm.
where a youth home burns down and there's a body found in it, but they don't know who the body is. There's no identifiers on it. And so Beth, this 15-year-old dead girl ghost, is like helping her dad try to solve the case. And in process of solving the mystery, they get led to a hospital where there was a survivor or a witness of the fire, named Isabel Catching. And Catching, as they call her, starts to tell her side of the story, and Beth and her dad have to kind of put together the pieces of what's going on, because Catching's story is kind of fantastical and mysterious and seems like there might be something supernatural at play.
It's supernatural. There's you covered all the topics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Supernatural, mystery. There's murder. People are dead, but we already know that.
There's a lot of dead.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess last time we started with like initial thoughts.
Yeah.
Because
Do-
none of us have read this before.
Oh, no, I have.
She
You
has.
have? Okay, so you don't get to talk about
I will
initial
not
thoughts.
talk about my initial thoughts.
I think so. If I grab my notes up here, my first thought was like, I really liked that we don't even like get introduced to supernatural stuff. There's no like, hey, there's gonna be ghosts in this book. It's straight up just like, I'm dead. This is my dad.
Yep.
There we go. We're fucking going.
Yeah.
Straight in. Yep. That's
I
fine.
like that.
Yeah, I did too. I also, since I was listening to the audiobook, I didn't realize that all of Catching's parts were like written in verse.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was also listening to the audiobook.
Yeah, so it's told as if she's like telling it out loud. So like the whole thing is technically dialogue,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the way that it's written is like line by line.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
if I remember reading correctly, that's not the phrase I meant to say. It's supposed to be like a combination of like prose and poetry
Right.
to
Mhm.
share that story.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I only know that it was written different because I own a physical copy of the book, but I
Right.
never actually read that
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
I audiobooked
Yeah,
it as
I
well.
was having trouble focusing on it so I downloaded the actual like
Text.
ebook
Oh, sure, sure.
to listen and read along at the same time
Nice.
because
Nice.
ADHD. And
Maybe-
so then it was like the second part of her
Mm-hmm.
of Catching's
Oh,
thing that
yeah.
I realized it.
Uh,
But I thought that was really interesting because a lot of books aren't written that way.
Yeah.
it's a good way to distinguish between like the reality, even though the reality is still kind of far-fetched, and then the like story she's telling, and then you have to like really question which one's real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I appreciated that from the authors.
And I wondered if it was maybe like if Ambelin and Ezekiel wrote each point of view.
Oh, maybe. yeah.
Because I know that like John Green has written a
Mhm.
few books where
Mhm.
from two different points of view with another author, and
Yeah. Will
he'll
Grayson,
ha-
Will Grayson.
yeah, and he'll write one, and the other guy will write the other,
Mm-hmm.
and they alternate chapters like that. So I wonder if
Yeah.
that's how they split up the work or not.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I feel like that would put an interesting spin on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My brain just was like, how would you even compare notes on that and make sure you guys stay in step? And I was like, because they're not probably struggling with their brains.
Yeah, and they're like brother and sister,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
they're around each other and could just be like, "Hey, write this into your part,
Yeah.
and I'll write that into my part."
My thought was they could telepathically communicate, and I was like,
Well,
no, they're not twins.
You don't know.
Well, do we know that they're not twins?
Oh no,
That's
hell no.
true.
They could be twins.
Also, that is assuming a lot. I don't think, although I have had weird telekinetic moments with my twin sister. So, we've never written a book, but
That would be
You-
cool.
You've
That's-
written a book.
I've written a book. She did not write any of that book.
Nor did she probably have much input.
Mm.
Has she read it?
Yeah.
Oh, good for her.
She was like, I can read this.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Do we need to get further into the plot to like discuss?
Sure.
Okay, to discuss.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Catching is a young girl who was also in a car accident with her mom, and her mom passed away, and then she was kidnapped by the big bad of the story.
Mhm.
And she kind of has this ability to cross the veil,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so where she can see the living and the dead. So she is the only person besides Beth's dad who is able to see Beth. And her ability comes from her history, her family history. Her great grandma, her mom, and her have all had some sort of like psychic or clairvoyant or
Mhm.
strength ability. And Catching tells her story, as we mentioned, in verse, sort of.
Mhm.
And it seems very strange. There's a character named Crow who she describes as like a bird-like girl who is completely gray, and Crow is telling Catching how she's supposed to survive this situation that she's been put in, which we find out later is a kidnapping. She's being held hostage, but Catching doesn't know that, or is making these monsters in her head to kind of cope with the situation.
Well, and it's like it's calling back a lot to Aboriginal lore and
Yes.
stuff, so it's calling on a lot of like
folk tales and
and things.
yes.
Yeah.
And so Crow is trying to protect Catching from the feed
And yeah,
and the
the fetchers.
fetchers. And the fetchers are like henchmen to the feed.
Yep.
And
Not
they
very bright.
yes, they're not very bright, and they fetch the prey
Yeah.
and they feed it to the feed. And the
Mhm.
feed feeds on colors or livelihood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so the reason that Crow is all gray is because the feed have sucked the life out of her, have taken her colors and kept her underground for so long, and it's kind of all a big metaphor.
Yeah.
But so as Catching is explaining this to Beth and Beth's father, Michael, um, Michael is kind of trying to put together whether this story is real or if it's, like I said, some sort of coping mechanism
Mhm.
Hmm.
that we have to kind of decipher.
Which I thought was very rich, sitting next to your dead ghost daughter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was kind of on the side of the dad. I was like, this does seem like
Hmm.
I was trying to figure out what
What
the fetchers were and like
Mhm.
what the feed was, and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, like the metaphor wasn't quite lining up to
Yeah.
like what you would assume.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I thought it was really, I mean, I was, like I said, I was on the side of the dad, but I was also like, but who knows, because
Yeah.
your daughter's dead and you
And you
talk
can
to her
talk
every
to her.
day,
She's
and
like,
Catching sees her too, so you like,
yeah, you're having this whole conversation.
yeah,
Like, you don't even not know that she's dead.
Like she's
Like,
definitely
you're talking about the fact that she's dead to her.
yeah.
yeah,
It's like, I feel like that would, if I didn't believe in any other bullshit, all of a sudden I believe in all of it now.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know what? Actually, how am I supposed to know?
exactly.
That's
Whatever.
what I found like really intriguing was like, okay, at first I was like, same as Ryan, I was like, the dad coping mechanism, what's it all mean? What's she getting to? And then I was like, but wait, Beth is dead, so supernatural. So maybe this is a supernatural story that we need to
Mhm.
save her from some creepy shit. And then they get to the end, and I'm like, oh no, it was a coping mechanism. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just
And
really
it's
tragic.
heartbreaking.
Absolutely
Tragic.
heartbreaking.
And I was like,
Especially with Crow. And like I
Yeah.
sort of
Mhm.
a little bit suspected that's where we were going with Crow,
Mhm.
that she was the friend that
what was it, 20
20 years
some
ago?
years
before.
ago the police officer who has been helping Michael this entire time has been like, I got to be a police officer because I've been looking for my best friend who vanished 20 years ago, and that's Crow, who has been, who was kidnapped by these same people and just destroyed
And is dead,
and is dead.
Yes.
which is another thing with the whole metaphor that like I wasn't sure about, because but then we find out that Catching can see.
Catching, yeah.
That's what I didn't put that together until recently, like
Yeah.
5 minutes ago. I was like, wait, Crow was dead the whole time because
was
we
dead the whole time.
find
Yeah.
out that all these other girls have gone through this whole thing
Yep.
as also have died because Crow constantly talks about, oh, in order to survive, you need to do this. And then Catching's like, what?
You need
No.
to become a dead girl.
Yeah. And which now I understand. And I was like, okay, but why was Crow just chilling there? Why didn't they get rid of her? And it's like, oh, she was just
Oh, she was just
dead the
Yeah.
whole time, and she was just trying to help her pass forward. But because Catching has the ability to like get out of that,
Hmm.
she had more of a chance than the other girls.
Mhm.
We should also probably just mention that the girls that were taken were specifically Aboriginal.
Yep.
Yes.
And that has a huge play in the whole Australian history of this thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot. It's not a super long book, but it is very rich in everything that it's talking about, because it does talk about even just like family problems with like, yeah, Michael is a white guy
Yep.
and his wife is Aboriginal,
So
and
his daughter is
his
half and
daughter is
half.
half Aboriginal, and just like the drama that came from that.
Yeah, he has no ties to his father anymore because
Mhm.
his father was against Aboriginal people from the start.
Yep.
And then he's pulled into his wife's family, who pretty much accepts him
Yeah.
regardless of anything. And then you hear then from Catching's story, like all of her family's history and like the experiences they had at different generations of
Yep.
different kinds of kidnappings and taking from mothers, and the struggle to even survive that as a female, let alone an Aboriginal. And so you do that lovely combo of POC and womanhood.
Yep.
Joy. I don't know where I was going. But yeah.
It was just, yeah, it is definitely, I don't know. I thought they like wove all of those pieces together really succinctly.
Yes. I felt like you got, if you had no understanding of this history prior to reading the book, you got a good sample of what it was like and what you could like learn. You could learn quite a bit from just like this tiny little book. Like comparatively to Pachinko,
Yeah. Oh
it's
my
like
God.
just a snippet, but I feel like you did get a good world building situation. And I was like, I couldn't do that. You did it very well and very efficiently.
Yeah. One of my other notes was, besides, I love catching.
Yeah.
I freaking loved catching. She was so sassy. She was so funny. But at the end, I just put, I'm terribly satisfied with this ending. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, sad.
Oh, absolutely.
Horrifyingly sad. But I thought it was just perfect. It pulled everything together. And the three of them, like, going off together, I was like, wait, this is beautiful. Because, you know, Michael, he doesn't have a family.
Yeah.
Because his wife is dead, his daughter's dead, and his family bailed on him for falling in love with an Aboriginal woman. And he also was very distant from his wife's family, who was his only family, because Viv was the one driving the car when Beth died. And Beth, the only thing Beth was doing around was like, you know, she's helping him solve crimes or whatever, but like definitely trying to get him to go back to a family.
Yeah.
And then that's the thing that allows her to leave. Like,
He finally
makes contact, and he's going to be at Grandpa's birthday party.
Yeah.
And she's able to leave, and she is growing with catching and Crow, and Crow is able to leave because all of this culminates. And
and there was one line about Beth that said when Beth's mom died, the only thing keeping her dad floating was taking care of Beth. And when Beth died, the only thing keeping him floating was her ghost.
Yeah.
Which was terribly sad.
Yeah.
It's really hard to imagine what it's like to be a parent to lose a child as well as a partner. And because I don't think it was a very long period of time. I can't remember if it was specified.
I don't remember how long it was after Beth's mom
It said
died.
she was a baby.
Yeah,
okay, so at least
and that's the thing is like you lost your partner, but then like your person has been your child.
Yeah,
you know,
your main source of everything is now just gone, and I can understand why. At least I can empathize with why he wouldn't want to be around the cousins that are talked about.
Yeah.
Because it would be really hard to see them growing up and being people, and your daughter never got that chance.
Yep.
It reminds me of a Bluey episode.
I am shocked.
Well, there's a Bluey episode about infertility.
Oh.
And the sister of the mom is symbolized as not being able to have children, and so she doesn't want to be around her sister and her kids because it's too hard. And then one of them looks a lot like her, so to her it's like, oh, that's literally out of my reach. And it's just like,
yikes.
And that's in Bluey?
It's a Bluey episode. I'm telling you, this show is great. It's also Australian.
It is also Australian.
What a
That's
nice connection.
insane.
Yeah. And it speaks on it so well and age appropriate. And like it takes tough topics that I don't think anyone would be able to easily talk about. And they're just like, here, this is how you talk to your children about this. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
I don't even know anyone that has that problem, but I now know how to deal with it. Very sweet. But yeah, just the idea of like watching other children and you have no ability to have that back for you.
Well, and I thought it was so fair to the fact that he did not he like couldn't handle even like looking at or talking to Viv.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he knows that that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He knows that there is no logical reason. And like, if I was Viv, I would be broken.
Oh yeah.
Obviously. But like, I also like totally understand, and he understands that this is ridiculous and stupid, and he still can't handle it.
Yeah.
And I loved that he ended with calling her.
Yeah.
Being like, I will be at Grandpa's funeral. Not funeral. It was
Birthday.
his birthday. The opposite.
That's the one person who didn't die.
Yeah.
That's my B.
I did really enjoy that was where it went, because I was like, what if they just don't acknowledge it? But they did. And then I love that Crow was able to be free because the case got solved, so she didn't have to save any more
Ignore me.
girls that were possibly gonna die.
Yeah.
And then Catching was able to just like go live through the dimensions and kind of just chill out and have friends. Like they got friends at the end. They were all so lonely.
They were also
and they got
friends.
friends.
So what did you guys think about the reveal that Crow is the one, like in tandem with Catching, that killed the police
Oh.
officer, the corrupt cop?
Oh, good.
I was like,
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
that was
Okay.
a fist in the air.
Well, because like, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of like, with these like young women, you could definitely put them in strict victim place
Mhm.
where they need to be saved. And I just thought these two in particular, I think it was really important that they got to take that back for themselves. And it's
Yeah.
like, it took a long time for her to be able to get to that point. You know,
Mhm.
Crow has been there for 20 years and, you know, is dead. But I thought I was so satisfied with the ending, every part of it.
I feel like the physical manifestation of Crow into an actual crow was due to the time frame that she was there. I might just be putting in information that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
But like,
That's
to
okay.
me,
That's what we did with why it was called Pachinko.
Yeah.
So.
But to me, it just feels like she had so much buildup and so much rage and so much like hurt, and she wasn't able to process it by herself. And then Catching comes along and is like, hey, you're kind of doing it wrong. And then suddenly they're able to like kind of rescue themselves from it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, she had the right to hurt that person, and I feel nothing.
Did you guys all figure out everything by the time Michael did? Like, when Catching said, like, it's 100 paces to the west of the house, did you figure out that it was, like, a bunker underground that they were keeping the girls in?
I didn't quite get exactly there. I kind of had, like, a vague, like, okay, this is where that was happening, but I couldn't, like, my brain wasn't going exactly where that was.
Mhm.
I wasn't surprised when it was revealed.
Yeah.
But I
Yes.
I couldn't have put it into words before.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that I put together was, oh, Crow is the or like the person that was kidnapped was in fact there the whole time.
Yeah.
So I maybe not exactly Crow, but like I figured that out and was like, yeah, her friend's totally dead. There's no way. She's
Oh,
alive.
her
Yeah.
friend was so dead.
I was like, I'm so sorry, honey, but you're too happy.
Yeah.
You're about to be doomed.
I don't know that I really clocked that it was like was that the chief of police or whatever? I don't know that I clocked that he was like
In on
In
us.
on it, yeah.
like
Yeah.
I knew that he was like helping cover something up. But I was like,
Yeah.
oh no, you're involved.
I was really hoping he was just covering up.
Me
but no, it's so
too.
much worse than that. I
Yeah.
was like, cool.
Yikes.
Absolutely yikes.
Biggest of yikes.
Bikes.
But I
Bikes.
bikes.
Gosh, I gotta bring bikes back.
Same.
I'll help you.
We used to just send bike emojis instead of saying yikes. Yeah.
That's great.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Anyone listening,
Bikes.
Big yikes. Bikes.
bikes. People didn't take to booed as well.
Yeah.
I love that though. Big mood.
People didn't like
Booed.
that. Anyway, you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Yep. I
Mhm.
was saying words.
We have ADHD.
Oh, okay. So I have this habit, and I realized this as I have become diagnosed and gone through a little bit more of life. I will read something the first time and not pay attention to anything except the plot and like whether or not I am enjoying it.
Yeah.
I do it with movies. I do it with books, apparently, except books that I have to physically annotate because classes force me to. Those are the only ones where I sit down and like actively like check what's going on in it. But if it's like this book, I read it as like, oh, just a fun book, fun in quotes. So I just read it and was like, I wasn't trying to solve anything. I wasn't trying to like figure out what was going on. I just like let it happen. And that's why it takes me like solid 3 times to like either read something or watch the movie before I fully comprehend whether or not it was a good thing or not.
Fair.
Because I will watch all the Marvel movies, all the Star Wars movies, all of them over and over and over again. And it won't be until like the 7th time that I'm like, that was actually really bad acting. You guys didn't do so great. The script wasn't good, but I will appreciate the effort that was put in. I will appreciate like the costuming and all of the fun little explosions. Michael Bay everywhere.
Of course.
Like I can watch the Transformers movies and not give a crap, but like they're not good. But like this one, the first time I read it, I was like, I don't know what's happening here, but it seems spooky. And then there's a really satisfying ending.
Yes.
And so this time reading around, I was like, oh, there's details. And like when we were talking about it just a second ago, I was like, oh, they both were in car accidents.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that was a very blatant detail that I was not picking up on.
Okay. I went to school for history.
Yeah.
And I also took a lot of classes on like media literacy.
Oh, sure.
So like that's the only way I can read books. And, you know, putting way too much thought in pachinko is called pachinko because, and it's just, I don't know.
The color blue symbolizes.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't mean that.
I
They just
know.
wanted to put the
But
color
like
blue.
I'm seeing all of these, you know, cohesive things. And sometimes they're true. And sometimes my brain is doing a lot of legwork that it doesn't need to be.
Yeah.
But
I did that with my art degree. You can literally just say whatever shit you want.
yeah,
And as long as it kind of makes sense, just a little bit,
great.
you've got a solid plan.
That's what I love about history papers is really like I would have sources and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But you can just kind of say stuff. And as long as you have like a sentence that you pulled from a book, you can say whatever and people are just like,
Interesting. Good. Interesting take on that.
okay.
We are college educated humans.
We are. I don't know what that says about college education if we're all like, you can just say whatever you want. And
mean,
people will give you good grades.
The biggest lesson from
not
college
for
is
accounting.
you can bullshit pretty much
yeah,
anything.
sucks to be you.
Oh, you
We
did
got-
like actual physical math stuff.
We got humanitarian degrees.
Yeah.
I got a
Sucks
business
to be
degree.
you.
I feel like business is like everything has to have like exactly this wording
Yeah.
or it's wrong.
Oh my gosh, and
It's
my other
kinda like
degree
that.
is education. And education is very much just like nothing. Like good. Like Tim Anderson is the greatest educator in the entire history of ever. Love him. And he gets it. And there are bad educators out there.
Oh,
But
yeah.
again, getting an education degree is just you like go in and you like stand in front of a class sometimes and you're like, this was World War II. And then they take a test and then they say this was World War II.
My favorite
then you
was
get a degree.
watching the education majors in my ASL courses or the speech pathologists
Of course.
because they would come in with like little crafts and like
Yeah.
all these little projects that they were doing. And I was like, you guys are just cutting out circles.
Yeah.
Like rude, but I also cut out circles, but I had to make a meaning out of it.
Yeah. No
No,
meanings.
they were just like circles for the children.
Literally.
But they have important jobs. Don't get me wrong. I love teachers. I support them. They need more money.
They
True.
need way more money.
Have either of you read or seen The Lovely Bones?
Not
No.
yet.
I've been meaning to.
Okay, because this story reminded me a lot of The Lovely Bones.
Noted.
There's like the girl who dies, and
Sure.
she's instead of being like a ghost, she's stuck in the in between
Sure.
Oh yeah.
because they can't find her body.
Okay. Oh.
Okay.
Or at least that's what I understood.
Is Stanley
um,
Tucci in this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's Saoirse
Okay.
Ronan and Stanley Tucci and Mark Wahlberg.
Oh.
Saoirse
Fascinating.
Ronan's in it?
Yeah.
Oh my
Saoirse
god.
Ronan's the main character.
That was a long
By-
time
The
ago,
dead
wasn't
girl.
it?
By
Mhm.
Alice
She was a baby.
Sebold.
Yeah, she would have been like 14.
Jesus.
Is it by Alice Sebold?
That sounds right.
Sure. I can see the book because I worked in a bookstore for a
Yeah,
long time. But
It's
I have
blue
no
and
idea.
has a little house on the
Yep.
cover. Yep.
Yep.
Or it's a bracelet with
With
the house charm.
Please
Um,
hold.
Anyway, and so her dad is also the only one that can
Oh,
hear
I
her,
remember
kind of.
learning
She
about this
she
story.
yells one time, and her dad like hears like a whisper on the wind.
Oh, that's
Gotcha.
creepy.
But he can't like actually see her and interact with her like Beth can with Michael. But I
That's
just thought that
frustrating.
it was similar because like there's a bunker underground where
Ooh,
a
scary
bad
things are happening.
guy.
Don't reveal things. I'm about to
Yeah.
read it. Actually,
Well,
you can 'cause
it's
I'll
the
forget.
Lovely Bones. It's not spoilers. It happens in the first chapter.
Oh,
okay.
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 Yeah,
okay.
she's dead the whole time. Like, and her family just doesn't know what happened to her, but we as readers do.
Oh.
Gotcha.
That's
okay.
kind of infuriating.
Noted.
I'm intrigued. Okay.
Yeah, it's very good. The movie is also very good. What's that lady's name? Rachel Weisz?
Rachel
Weisz?
Weisz.
Weisz?
Yeah.
I think she's the mom. It's kind of a star-studded cast.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's great.
That's the like one thing that I've heard people say. Love Stanley Tucci. Can't do that. Stanley Tucci because he's evil.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see him play.
Like the bad guy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like a
Ah.
creepy bad guy.
Yeah, I've seen photos. Got a creep stash.
Mhm.
Aw.
Yeah.
It's the stash. It's either great or awful.
Yeah.
It's never in between.
Ryan's rocking a great stash right now.
Great
not
stash.
a not a creep stash.
Nope.
Nope.
Not even a porn stash. It's actually a really nice stash.
Thank you. Have you watched the episode of Game Changer where Vic has to name the facial hair?
No.
No.
Okay, it connects to both the facial hair, mustache, and Stanley Tucci. But
Oh,
she lands on a bit where they show a picture of Sam with an
Mhm.
edited facial hair structure,
Sure.
and she has to give it a name.
Oh no.
And the first one is the Evelyn Tucci, the maternal
oh no, I
grandmother
have
of,
seen this.
of Stanley
oh,
Tucci.
and she just keeps going about Evelyn Tucci for the
Yes.
rest of
for
I
the
have seen
entire
that.
rest of the game.
Yep. I
And-
forgot that was about facial hair. Yep.
And then and she's finally she buzzes in and she's like, circle is what Evelyn Tucci would call it.
Yeah. I have seen clips of that.
Yeah, it's good.
So funny.
The Game Changer is so funny. Oh my god.
Dropout.tv. Go subscribe.
Go subscribe.
$5.99
right
a
now.
month. It's
Robert
worth it.
Reich's son
Robert Reich's son, Sam Reich,
is here the
his
whole
name.
time.
Is here the whole time.
I don't know that I have any more about the book, you guys.
I don't
Yeah.
either.
It's a small book. What was
It
it? 4
is.
It's a short
hours?
book. It's a 4-hour audiobook.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I
And
don't
it was
know.
spooky and
It was
it's
spooky.
Halloween.
Yeah.
So
Happy Halloween.
Happy
And it was
Halloween,
good.
everyone.
Happy Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just
I wish there was like a better way to like speak on the Aboriginal stuff because like that is a huge part of the story, but it's like I don't know
Mhm.
enough to feel comfortable.
yeah,
talking about
no.
it like that. So
I don't want
disclaimer:
to talk as a
I am not a
um,
historically educated person on the Aboriginal experience.
yeah, I do not want to speak as an expert. I
No.
thought that it was a fantastic book, and I thought
Mhm.
obviously like they know what they're talking about. Go
Yeah.
read the book.
I'm intrigued to learn more because of the book.
And if I remember correctly, there was some resources at the end of the book that they
I
put in
believe
there
so.
to
Mhm.
like to read more
Yeah.
in these places.
you
Yeah, and there's
mentioned
an
the
author's note
yeah.
that
In the
that
author's note,
kind
yeah.
of breaks down the characters and
Mm-hmm.
what they're
Where they
based
got
on,
it,
and
yeah. Where some of these things came from.
yeah.
Yeah.
Based in truth, but it's a lovely fictional story, but also probably not too far from fact,
Mm,
Yeah.
yep.
unfortunately. But okay. Yeah, no, I'm cool with that.
I don't know. Join us. Yeah, sure. Join us next month, November 28th, as we discuss Here the Whole Time by Vitor Martins.
Happy post thanks Turkey Day.
Post Thanks Turkey Day.
Thanks,
Um,
Turkey. We do pardon the turkey.
We do pardon the
Thanks,
turkey.
turkey. You've been pardoned.
Okay, let's see. Oh, fuck. I could put a dentist
God,
tomorrow.
America's so weird.
America's so
Yeah.
weird, you guys.
Pardoning a turkey.
But we
Okay.
can't. Never mind.
Oh.
I was like,
No, you're right, though. See you next time.
Use some marijuana.
This podcast was brought to you in part by KCUN
Yeah, we could say that.
please tell me you recorded that.
89.3 FM. KCUN.
Perfect.